Watching News at Prime, let's bring you this conversation now. Eskom recently marked over 100 days of no load shedding. Board chairperson Mteto Nyati has credited current CEO Dan Marokane for stability at the entity. In a social media post today, Nyati says, had it been the previous CEO, André de Ruyter, who turned the struggling utility around, he would have been called, and I quote, Mr. Fix-It. Well, Mteto Nyati joins me now to explain exactly the essence of his social media post. Mr. Nyati, good evening to you. Thank you for your time. Let's begin with why you tweeted that particular sentiment. Who is it directed at, and why do you feel that the current leadership at Eskom is not being credited for the work that they're doing?
Yeah, thank you, Polly, for having me. And when we look back at I would say the last 3 years, there's been a great work that has been done in Eskom. And it's been done largely by the employees of Eskom, led by the people who have been in Eskom. People like Beki Ngomalo, some of his power station general managers have been the people that have been spearheading and really driving the turnaround within Eskom. Dan Marokane joined, and he has been great in making sure that he orchestrates the turnaround strategy as we laid out as the board. And for me, when I look at the work that has been done, we only see load shedding generally as the public, but there are many other dimensions of this turnaround. Working to try and arrest the growth of the debt with the municipalities, coming up with solutions to try and address those problems, working at the dysfunctional organizational culture, turning that around, creating a high performance culture, making sure that you set up the electricity industry to be able to be competitive, spinning off and unbundling NTCSA. These are all big things that Dan and his leadership team has done. But when you look and look around and listen in particular in some of the online media in South Africa, you are consistently finding that there's been this undermining of the work that has been done by Dan and his team. And for me, I think that is very unfair. And it's something that people like myself as a board chair, I need to stand up and try and make sure that we have fairness within the system.
Do you think that there is more that the Eskom leadership, as you are doing now, that can be done to not only communicate the Eskom successes, but perhaps build that trust, not only with the media space, but with the people of South Africa, in order for Eskom to truly own this turnaround narrative?
I have no doubt that there is a room for improvement. And in fact, we as the board have been having discussions with our management around this point, because there are many things that are positive that have been done. Even things in areas where we are having challenges, it's very important just be open and upfront with that. But if you look at how we have conducted ourselves, including with the Minister of Electricity, we've really been very open about what is going on. On a weekly basis, we're communicating extensively through a communication channel called the Power Alert, where we share with the public, how we are doing across a number of dimensions. So this particular leadership team has been very transparent. But we do need to see, in particular, the leaders of the business being available and being open, being challenged, so that people can hear, can understand that what has happened, it has been through conscious effort, unlike some of the people who attribute it to a miracle. And honestly, I can never understand, because a miracle is something that you don't understand. It's like, okay, we don't know what happened. We know what happened. We have people that have worked very hard and put together plans and executed on those plans. And that is the story of Eskom. And this is really what it needs to be told, and to be told more by us, and but also by other people that are curious, because many people in South Africa had given up and thought that we're going in one direction down, but things have turned around significantly. So why are people not curious as to what has happened and asking the question? This is something that we should do in Eskom, but also journalists generally should be much more curious about what is going on there.
Well, let's tease that curiosity, Dr. Nyati, because I remember sitting with the Minister of Electricity a few weeks ago, and he made reference to André de Ruyter to say, I'm paraphrasing him, he's a perfect example of what should not be done to turn around an entity that is in crisis, and that is that you need to get people that know the space that they are going into. I wanted to quiz him more, but because of time, we couldn't. So what would you say are the major differences that Dan Marokane has done versus what André de Ruyter sought to do?
I think we need to take even one step back, Chloe, and look at in general, how can we turn around the state-owned enterprises? I think the starting point really is to have a board that is fit for purpose, a board that has got experiences that talk to the challenges that are facing that entity. And that's what we have in Eskom. So that was a great work that was done by the ministry to make sure that they appointed people whose experiences talk to the problems of Eskom. Then that board has got the responsibility of building a leadership team, again, that has got a good understanding of the environment, And Dan Marokane, it took us close to 6-7 months to identify the new leader of Eskom. And it was so good to, he just stood out. And we never limited it to South Africans. We went all the way in Europe, and we had many people we interviewed. But Dan stood out in many ways, and his ability to connect with people, to mobilize the people, understanding of the engineering environment that is in there, the ability to listen, because it's one thing to be a leader, but a leader that does not listen is a problem, Also a leader that when he looks back, he finds that there's nobody who's following him. That's not a leader. If you look at what Dan has done, wherever he has people that are following him, that are passionate, that understand where they are going, So that's the kind of a leader that we needed within the Eskom environment. Yeah. But you also need to have a board that hold that leadership accountable. We had a 2-year turnaround plan, and we held them accountable to delivering on that plan. When things did not work out, we were out in the open and saying, hey, you were supposed to do X and you did not do that. We said that by end of March this year, we need to be with an EAF of 70%. We were not there. But where are we now? A few months later, we are exactly at that point. That's exactly what we want, being able to do what you said we're going to do.
Yeah.
And all elements of the equation working together, the ministry working with us, aligned to the board aligned to the management at head office level, linking directly to the operations and providing the operations with the support that they need in order to make sure that they deliver. All of that is what is important, and that's what we have in Eskom.
You talk about a CEO who has that human touch, if I understand
Yes.
you correctly. How would you describe staff morale at Eskom right now?
It's chalk and cheese. When we landed in Eskom, you just, in fact, there were hardly people within the head office. People were staying at home. Yes, they were exploiting this working from home, but you cannot afford that. You need to have people being around, working as part of teams, but they were hardly there. you know, and they found that each time they were listening to their leader was giving them, saying all sorts of things about them, you know, being the source of the problem. You know, how can you be excited to be coming to work when you are being seen as the person who's creating the problems? You know, when I look at my own experience, wherever I've been, the majority of people that are working in companies are honest people wanting to do what is right for the company. It doesn't mean that there are no bad apples, but focus on those bad apples, remove them. But the majority of the people, you need to embrace them, empower them, and listen to them, and create the space for them to contribute to that. So that's what we have now. You know, this company, it ended up being one of the best employers, considered as the best employer last year, by the same people that were nowhere, that were so demotivated when we arrived here. And that is leadership. That's the leadership provided by Dan together with his leadership team.
Final question, and perhaps this could be your chance to endear yourselves even more to South Africans. Oftentimes, when the Minister of Electricity speaks, he says load shedding, or the end of load shedding, is within touching distance. How far are we from that moment?
I can tell you that we are not far from that. As I indicated to you, that one of the key indicators that was very important for us to consistently at an EAF of about 70%, and that's what we have been seeing over the last few weeks consistently. And we need to monitor all of that, and at the right time, we certainly will be coming to South Africa and letting them know that load shedding is behind us. But I am with the minister here. It is within a touching distance.
Dr. Mteto Nyati, thank you very much for your time tonight.